I have a problem. My Steam library has over 400 games, and I've played, being generous, about 30. The rest are just sitting there, gathering digital dust, silently judging me every time I open the client. It's a graveyard of good intentions and irresistible summer sales. And the strangest thing is, I'm not even mad about it. In fact, I like it. I've given my money to a monopoly that controls 75% of the PC gaming market, and I did it with a smile. If I told you that the CEO of this company, Gabe Newell, is so rich that he has a fleet of yachts so large he needs smaller support yachts for his main yacht, you'd probably think of an evil company like Amazon or Meta. But no, we're talking about Valve, the company behind Steam, and for some reason, we love them. Steam shouldn't exist in its current form. It's the textbook definition of a monopoly, but somehow it's the only one that doesn't make us want to take to the streets with torches and pitchforks. So how did they do it? How did Valve build the only good monopoly that exists? To understand the genius of Steam, we have to go back in time to a dark and primitive era, the late 90s. Back then, buying a PC game was a ritual. You'd go to a store, buy a giant cardboard box that contained a couple of CDs and a manual thicker than the phone book. Installing it was a pain. And if the game had bugs, you had to manually search internet forums for a patch, download it, and pray it didn't break everything. And that's if you actually bought it. Piracy was so easy and common that it seemed like a national sport. Downloading a game from Kazaa or LimeWire was faster than going to the store, although you ran the risk of downloading a Trojan virus disguised as Diablo 2. It was the Wild West, and game developers were losing their minds. It was in the midst of this chaos that two former Microsoft employees, Gabe Newell and Mike Harrington, founded Valve in 1996. Their first game, Half-Life, was a resounding success, a masterpiece that changed the industry forever. But while they were creating hits like Counter-Strike and Team Fortress, they realized there was a fundamental problem. Updating their games and fighting cheaters was a logistical nightmare. Counter-Strike players were plagued by hackers who could see through walls, and every security patch was a headache to distribute. The original idea for Steam wasn't a store, it was an internal tool to automate updates and maintain a fair playing field, a system to make their own games run better. Few realized they were building the golden cage in which the entire PC gaming industry would end up happily living. How did they go from being a simple updater to a billion-dollar giant? Steam's business model is, at its core, a stroke of genius disguised as convenience. It's a digital version of the razor and blade model. They give you the handle, the Steam client, for free, and then sell you the blades, the games, for life. The real trick was becoming everyone's digital landlord. Valve doesn't risk millions developing most of the games on its platform. They simply rent out space on their digital shelf and take a 30% cut of every sale. Yes, you heard that right, 30%. It's a commission that would make the mafia blush. But the real hook isn't just the store, it's the ecosystem. Your friends list, your achievements, your cloud saves, your meticulously tracked play hours. It's all there. Leaving Steam would mean abandoning your gamer identity. It's the network effect at its finest, the same one Facebook uses to keep you from switching to another social network. All your friends are already here. Why does this take it or leave it strategy sound so familiar to you? This tactic of charging a 30% toll to operate within their ecosystem isn't exclusive to Valve. If it sounds familiar, it's because that's exactly what Apple does with its App Store. For years, any in-app purchase on an iPhone or iPad gave Apple a 30% cut, no exceptions. Apps weren't even allowed to tell users they could get a better price by subscribing directly on their website. Apple, just like Valve, created a walled garden so convenient and closed off that they could set their own rules and charge whatever they wanted. The difference is that when Apple does it, we call them greedy monopolists and take them to court. When Valve does it, we eagerly await the summer sales to give them even more money. But this absolute control has a dark side, especially for those who actually create the games we love so much. The real problem with Steam's dominance isn't something consumers see directly. The real controversy lies in their contracts with developers. Valve includes what's known as a Most Favored Nation clause, or MFN for short. This clause sounds fancy, but it's basically a schoolyard bully tactic. It forces developers not to sell their game at a significantly lower price on any other platform if it's also on Steam. Imagine that the Epic Games Store, in an attempt to compete, lowers its commission to 12%. In a fair market, the developer could pass those savings on to the consumer by selling the game cheaper on Epic, but Steam's MFN clause forbids it. It's as if Walmart forced Coca-Cola to sign a contract saying they can't sell their sodas cheaper at any other store. The result is that Steam always seems to have the best or the same price, not because they're competitive, but because they stifle competition through contracts. With this level of control, can you imagine how much money is not reaching game creators? The impact is astronomical. Steam, as a private company, does not publish its revenue figures, but analyst estimates put its annual profits at over $10 billion. According to a report by VG Insights, in 2023 alone, games sold on the platform generated more than $9 billion. From that, Valve pocketed a considerable share. An economist cited in an antitrust lawsuit against Valve estimated that, in a truly competitive market, Steam's commission would not exceed 17 or 18%. The difference between that and the current 30% represents billions of dollars that could go back into the pockets of developers, especially independent studios that operate on very tight margins. Socially, Steam has centralized PC gaming culture, creating a universal meeting point, but also a total dependence on a single company. But, like in every science fiction movie where an oppressive system controls everything, there is always a resistance. In true Matrix style, you wonder, is there a way out? Well, you can't download Kung Fu directly into your brain, but there are ways to bypass the system. A popular tactic, though ethically gray, is the use of a VPN. And speaking of that, if you're going to use a VPN, use one that doesn't play games with you. Proton VPN is fast, audited, and has a kill switch. It's ideal for browsing without being tracked, and for not playing Russian roulette on public Wi-Fi. For Black Friday, it's 70% off. And if you want to be fully protected, they have Proton Mail, Proton Drive, and Proton Pass, or the complete suite. If you're interested, check out the link in the pinned comment of the video. Thank you. And now let's continue. Game prices on Steam vary drastically depending on the region. A game that costs $60 in the United States could cost the equivalent of $20 in Argentina or Turkey. By using a VPN to mask your location, you can create an account in that region and buy games for a fraction of the price. Another method is to use key reselling sites like G2A or Kinguin, where you can buy game codes, often at lower prices. However, this comes with its own risks, since some of those keys may be obtained fraudulently, which sometimes harms developers even more than if you simply pirated the game. If these practices are so well known, why don't regulators do anything about it? The reason Valve has been able to operate like this for so long is that antitrust laws are like a dinosaur trying to hunt a drone. They're slow, outdated, and not designed for the digital world. These laws were written to break up oil and railroad monopolies, not digital distribution platforms where the product is intangible and the market is global. However, the tide is starting to turn. In 2021, a group of developers filed a class action lawsuit against Valve, accusing them specifically of anti-competitive practices through their MFN clause. The lawsuit is still ongoing, but it's a sign that governments and legal systems are finally starting to pay attention. The problem is that by the time a resolution arrives, Valve's dominance could be even more unbreakable. So if they're subtly squeezing us and suffocating developers, why are we all still on board the Steam train? The answer is simple and brutally human: convenience. Steam solved all the annoying problems of PC gaming and packaged them into an experience so smooth, it's almost invisible. Updates are automatic. Your games install with a single click. Your saved games travel with you to any computer through the cloud. The friends list and built-in chat make playing with others easy. We've willingly traded an open market for a closed, convenient ecosystem. It's the same reason people pay for Amazon Prime. Instant gratification and the removal of friction are worth more than saving a few bucks. Steam sold us the magic solution to all our problems, and the price was competition. But beneath that layer of convenience, there hides a much more sinister mechanic, one that transformed Valve from a game developer into a digital casino operator. This is where the image of the good monopoly completely falls apart. Starting with Team Fortress 2, Valve discovered a gold mine: microtransactions and, more specifically, loot boxes. Instead of creating new games, they realized they could make much more money by selling cosmetic items for the games they already had. The real evil genius was introducing gambling into the mix. In games like Counter-Strike, you can buy a key with real money to open a case that contains a random weapon skin. That skin could be worth just a few cents, or it could be worth thousands of dollars. It's literally a slot machine. One report estimated that Valve made over $1 billion in 2023 alone from Counter-Strike cases. They've hired economists to optimize these internal economies, and they're fully aware that they're exploiting the same psychological mechanisms as gambling addiction. Despite this, public perception of Steam remains overwhelmingly positive. How do they pull it off? The design of the Steam experience is a masterclass in consumer psychology. While other launchers, like Epic Games, feel clunky or desperate for your attention, Steam is functional, unobtrusive, and feels like home. But their secret weapon is the sales. Steam's summer and winter sales aren't just sales, they're cultural events in the gaming community. The feeling of getting a critically acclaimed game for 75% off gives us a rush of dopamine that makes us forget we're buying something we'll probably never play. They gamify the act of buying with trading cards, badges, and events. They make us feel smart for spending money, as if we're hacking the system by scoring an amazing deal. It's a shiny veneer for a business model that, at its core, is quite exploitative. With the success of the Steam Deck venturing into hardware and competition from Microsoft with its Game Pass, Valve's future is uncertain. Will they be able to maintain their throne as the benevolent dictator of PC gaming? Or will lawsuits and competition finally break their hold? Its corporate culture, famous for being anarchic and boss-free, relies heavily on Gabe Newell's vision. When he's no longer in charge, will Valve become just another soulless corporation squeezing every last cent out of its customers? Only time will tell. In the end, I look back at my Steam library, that mausoleum of impulse purchases. Steam is a monopoly, yes, but it's a monopoly that built its empire by giving us exactly what we wanted, an easy solution. It became the feudal lord of PC gaming, and we, the serfs, are pretty happy with our plot of land because the castle is warm and protects us from the barbarians, or from CD installers, which is pretty much the same thing. But a feudal lord, no matter how kind, is still a feudal lord. And maybe it's time we start asking ourselves if convenience is worth the price of a truly free market. Now I'd love to hear your opinion. What's the game you bought during a Steam sale, all excited and have never touched? And more seriously, do you think Steam's control over the market is beneficial for gamers? Or is it time for regulators to step in? By the way, don't forget to check out the pinned comment with the Proton offer. And speaking of tech giants that control how and how much you pay, have you ever wondered how Apple brainwashes you into thinking their products are the only ones worth it? You have to watch this video about their brilliant yet sinister marketing strategy.